In 2008, a beach in Jamaica was stolen. Entire truckloads of sand went missing and they never returned. But it was not a prank. 500 truckloads gone without a trace. It must have been planned. Jamaica's mines commissioner at the time suspected that government officials were involved. 15 years later, the mystery is still unsolved.
But there are locals that are reporting truckloads that are still running in the night.
I wanted one of us to go to Jamaica all these years later. We just needed to know what happened.
I'm just gonna fucking camp out with one of those locals and like just try to follow these trucks.
But we couldn't go without help.
Hello.
Hello. Hey, how are you? This is Jack.
Yeah, man, I'm good, man. How are you?
Do you mind if I just ask you a question right now? I've been dying to talk to a local. And have you heard of Coral Springs Beach?
Yep.
You have?
Let me be honest with you. I don't trust anyone. We don't deal with those people.
Sorry, what people?
The feminine people, we don't deal with them.
Criminal.
Yeah.
You just hung up. Okay.
There's parts of this story that I wanted to tell differently, but for safety reasons I couldn't, so I didn't go to Jamaica. This video was meant to be about this beach, trying to solve the mystery that happened right here. But in trying to find the truth, we kept pulling on this thread, and every corner that we turned revealed something much bigger, something that we almost didn't want to admit to ourselves could even be real.
No sand, no modern civilization.
When the pieces came together, one thing was clear. It's not just Jamaica. Around the world, sand is going missing. We're still gonna tell you about what happened at this Jamaican beach, but this story is much, much bigger than that. Okay, here's the question. Where's all the sand going? And why would anyone want this much of it?
In Jamaica, in Russia, in other places, thieves have stolen entire beaches. In fact, there is a worldwide black market for sand.
Hey bro, how do we feel about thanking our sponsors, Storyblocks, right now?
Storyblocks, our sponsor with a curated collection of professional content for licensing.
Yeah, that one.
Really good. This is the perfect time for it.
You know they have footage, templates, music, sound effects, images, and more?
More.
And they make new stuff available regularly. Unlike other sites, it's not pay-per-clip. It has predictable subscription costs and no hidden fees, ever.
Simply, how do they make money off of this? This is true, actually. When I was in high school, I took a class that got me interested in video, like for the very first time. My high school teacher had a Storyblocks account he let us use for education purposes, and it was awesome because I was super scared to go out in public and film stuff, and so I was just able to like get B-roll of cities and cars and boats and whatever I was making videos on at the time. That's true. That was awesome. We weren't able to go to Jamaica, so a lot of this footage you had already seen is from Storyblocks. They license this to us, and unlike other stock footage sites, they don't get any royalties, so I don't have to worry about that going forward.
And here's something that really blows my mind about Storyblocks. They have a Creative Cloud plugin.
That is actually super sweet. I'm really excited. I didn't know about that. I'm really excited to use it. Here's what I'll say. I've been doing motion graphics for years now, and Storyblocks does have tons and tons of motion graphics templates on their website. If you're here on this channel and you've been enjoying what we're making, it might be a good idea if you're considering starting your own channel or looking to grow an existing one. Motion graphics are awesome, and they have some for you. Storyblocks is a subscription service, so you pay monthly or yearly, and you get access to the new stuff that they put out. It's actually really freaking cool. There's also a link in the description for this video. If you are interested in Storyblocks, which you should be, because if you're not, you should be. The link is in our description.
Which is storyblocks.com/CHUPPL.
We'd super appreciate it. Thank you to Storyblocks for helping us make videos like this and supporting our channel. All right, Mia, back to the story. Okay, it turns out that there's a global marketplace for sand. To me, like at first, this didn't sound super interesting, but I looked into it. And it turns out that this marketplace hosts criminal organizations, mob bosses, goons.
Goons.
The mob bosses even have goons. And it involves corruption at the highest levels of government around the world. This marketplace is even changing international borders. I'm not just talking about Jamaica. This is a lot bigger than I thought it was at first. If you haven't heard about this, I promise you, you depend on this market. and you probably depend on these people too.
Sand is actually the most important solid substance in the world.
The secrets of these mafias and what happened at that beach are locked away. The key to understanding it all is this guy.
Portugal. Nice. That's NT, Canada, Western Australia. Nice.
Okay, maybe not him, but the game he plays. Who's ready for it?
Ready.
Are you ready for it?
Ready for this?
The team and our friends have been spending months trying to get good at this game. Damn. GeoGuessr.
Oh.
It shows you an image from Google Street View.
Shut up.
You have to try to figure out where you are. Seriously, we've been studying. Dude. Birch trees,
I know that foliage anywhere.
Easy money.
You bet.
Finland. These telephone poles,
Okay, word.
Senegal.
Yes, sir.
This car under you, Kyrgyzstan.
1 mile away.
Mountains that look like this,
Oh my god.
Lesotho. Weird birds, Midway Atoll. The weird birds are my favorite. But there's one part of the world that's notoriously difficult to learn.
Oh man.
Okay. Oh.
Dude.
Morgan!
You guys suck, bro.
To our naive American eyes, we can't tell this from this.
This is, God,
But in the region, there's a black sheep.
no question.
Oh bro, I'm dropping right now. Here, let me find the street name. Sorry, Beach Road is over there?
Wait, that is weird. Why is Beach Road so inland? Singapore is fighting a war with the ocean and winning. Its secret weapon is sand. Beach Road used to be on the water. This land used to belong to the ocean, and now it's Singapore's.
Well, shit, there's a rabbit hole to go down.
Singapore is a tiny country that used all of its own sand really fast, so they had to go find sand somewhere else. I'm thinking maybe that's where the Jamaican sand went.
Without sand, civilization as we know it could not exist.
What? Mia, you can't just drop this shit on me.
Okay, I'm on it. Okay. Dubai is out of sand too. They buy it from Australia.
Yeah? Where'd you get that fact? The poo store?
Stop.
No. Mia, they have a desert.
Desert sand sucks.
I like it.
That doesn't matter. Why can't we just use the desert?
God.
There's a lot of science to this. I like it. You might not. I'm gonna try to speed through it. I can give you the bare bones.
Please.
Desert sand, good for nothing. That is not the sand that we're talking about. Ocean sand, land reclamation. River and beach sand, that's the good stuff. A specific material derived from sand, silicon dioxide, is used in like almost everything.
Red 40?
Talk about red dye 40. I need to cover your face.
It's harder for you to look at me. Okay, all right.
Computers, phones, credit cards, wine.
Wine.
Yes. What?
No, that's crazy. That's nuts.
Yeah. I could go on. This one guy whose TED Talk I listened to was really into telling people that sand was in their underwear.
I just love telling people that they have sand in their underwear.
Oh my God.
No, seriously though, we depend on it. And it's not just Dubai and Singapore that are running out. We all are.
The whole world.
The whole world. Sand is being used quicker than it can be replenished. Sand is the most commonly used non-renewable resource, second only to water. More than oil. Sand.
The Jamaican sand was from a beach. What's this good stuff used for?
So the vast majority of mined sand goes to construction. Like by far. Concrete is roughly 70% sand and gravel. It's called aggregate.
No shit. That's crazy.
And global demand for sand is gonna keep going up. So what happens when we run out?
80% of everything that is built today in the world is made of concrete.
It's the literal foundation of modern civilization.
Look at this graph. It shows the change in urban population around the world. It takes a lot of construction to keep up with this. Yes, the world is running out of sand, but it's not all because of sand theft. Every year, the world uses 50 billion tons of aggregate. That's enough to cover the entire United Kingdom. We're simply using too much. All the while, more and more people flock to cities and sea levels rise. Much of the sand trade is legal, but according to the UN, it's completely lacking in regulation. Anyways, here's what we know. The stolen beach wasn't a tourist spot. It was primarily locals. These locals say that sand theft happens frequently, just not this much of it. It was so shocking that Ripley's Believe It or Not even mentioned it in the cartoon. This theft happened overnight, and it wasn't a small operation. Using excavators and trucks, the sand was worth about $1 million, which leaves the question, where do you hide hundreds of tons of sand? The Queen of England was also curious. Jamaica used to be part of the British Empire. There's still some remnants of that are alive and well today. And one of those things is that the British Crown had the authority to open an investigation into this stolen sand case. So she did. The Queen of England. To understand what happens next in this investigation, you have to know how these mafias operate, the strategies that they use, and just how high up the conspiracy can go. 500 truckloads of sand is a lot, but to Singapore, it's just a speck. They don't need it. And so they didn't steal this Jamaican beach. Instead, they went to their neighbors. Singapore took so much sand from its Southeast Asian neighbors that they were all hit really hard. Okay, Indonesia even started losing some of their entire islands. It sounds bad, but it actually gets a lot worse. And it's because if a country loses an island, they may not have the same claim to that maritime border. And if you know anything about the South China Sea, it's definitely not the place that you want to be losing islands.
Facing threats in the South China Sea area. In the South China Sea.
And so in response, one by one, Singapore's neighbors started banning sand exports to this now prosperous island nation, officially leaving a $60 billion industry in the most sand-hungry part of the world. When the US banned alcohol, that worked, right?
Check.
So sand mafias started to thrive, and today they're all around the world. India, Morocco, Indonesia, and yes, Jamaica. To get to the bottom of these criminal organizations, we reached out to a cybersecurity and open source intelligence expert. They asked to remain anonymous. They created what's called a crawler to try to find out where these groups are selling their sand. We were absolutely sure that the sand trade's home base was the dark web. The results really surprised us. Nothing. I thought that if we could figure out where this sand is sold and the ins and outs of how they do it, that it would lead us back to that Jamaican beach. So we hit that dead end, and Paji and I turned our heads to India, where the sand mafia isn't just prominent, it's actually the most powerful criminal ring in the whole country.
Do I also record?
No.
No, okay. Hey there.
This is Paji. You'll meet him in the next video.
My name is Himanshu Thakkar. I'm from India, from an organization called South Asia Network on Dams, Rivers and People.
Just like many other parts of the world, India's sand economy has many companies that are mining and selling sand completely legally, above board entirely. But it's definitely not all of them.
So there are a lot of small, as I described earlier, there are a lot of smaller players who will be mining at the local level. And they'll be acting like a mafia in that particular mining operation. And they will do it mostly with the collusion of the officials who are supposed to be policing, monitoring that operation.
Remember when Jamaica's mines commissioner suspected that government officials helped steal the beach?
What makes it so rampant, happening everywhere, is because they have a political sort of protection, and politicians, local ruling politicians are involved. They actually see this activity as a major money generating activity for their own electioneering processes.
With political protection, they have no reason to hide. The mining itself happens in the rivers of the largest cities in the country in broad daylight.
Practically all over the India, this is going on. It particularly happens close to the urban areas, big cities, because the cities are major market for sand.
I thought that our cybersecurity expert was going to be able to find this vast hidden network of global sand trade. And now we know why they didn't.
Yeah, it's not hidden.
Not at all. At all. It's there for everyone to see.
Yeah, see, most people will not make a distinction. So if I am doing something, repairing my house or building a small house, I have to buy sand. I will not be bothered where it is coming from or whether it's coming illegally or illegally. Ultimately, I don't even know where it comes from. and who is mining that sand, where it is mined, and how it is legal or illegal. You can't, looking at the sand, you can't say whether it's legally mined or illegally mined because it all looks same.
There's just no way for us to confirm if all these listings are companies selling sand legally or groups selling it illegally. But when you see sand being sold from a country that has laws banning it, it's worth noting. Compare like the sand mafias to the coal mafias or the drug mafias. Are any of them disproportionately targeting journalists?
Yeah, sand mafia is definitely. Sand mining is definitely disproportionately high. There's no doubt about it. I mean,
we definitely can't say that's the same in India as it is in Jamaica, but there is more to the story of that Jamaican beach, and it does raise an eyebrow that it was hardly reported on. So here it is. The beach that was stolen was actually on land that was bought for the purpose of turning into a resort. While the plans were being made is when the beach was stolen. While the British Crown opened their criminal investigation, evidence was found that led to 2 other hotel resorts on the island. Mixed into their brown sand was lots and lots of powdery white sand, the type found on the stolen beach. These hotel operators claimed they hired an aggregate mining company to bring sand to their beaches for tourism purposes. If the sand was taken from Coral Springs, the hotel operators claimed they were unaware. But the owner of the stolen beach alleged that the hotel operators hired this company as an agent for exactly that purpose. So, in tandem with the criminal investigation, the beach owner commissioned an environmental study of the sand at the hotels to see if it was a match. But the accused resorts had employees raking the sand in the middle of the night. It made it really complicated to discern. The investigation went on for years, all leading up to a very suspicious climax. A climax that shocked the head of the British investigation. He said it was clearly quite a conspiracy. Some of the people that would be involved in this could be quite influential. The lead witness started getting really credible threats, like intense ones. And as a result of this, they actually dropped out. They said, I'm not testifying anymore. And so with hardly any evidence to go off of, the case was dropped. So while this case might be officially unsolved, it's important to note what locals have reported on. The bigger story here is these sand mafias, all of them. In comparison, this Jamaican beach feels like nothing. We scraped a bunch of old newspapers to try to see how many cases of sand theft we could find here in the US. We found that frequently it's companies doing the mining, often breaking laws and mining where they shouldn't. Time after time, they just get a slap on the wrist. Like this case in Hawaii, where a concrete production company was caught illegally removing and transporting sand. The US Corps of Engineers even obtained photo evidence of the company doing so, but they promised it would never happen again. Case dropped. But it did happen again. The US Corps of Engineers obtained video evidence of the continuing theft. And 3 years later, an activist group wanted charges for the continued crime. But the judge communicated to the group's attorney that, quote, he would cite contempt of court charges against anyone who attempted to approach the grand jury on the matter. Sand has always been used as a metaphor for things like how many stars are in the universe, or infinity. But we're at a humbling turning point. Something we depend on so actively is running out, and admittedly, it's hard to comprehend. Historically, when sand mining or exporting is regulated, criminal groups jump in and thrive. This Jamaican beach is just a symptom of a much larger picture. At the core of the dilemma is, now that this can't be ignored, how are governments, who are one of, if not the biggest buyers of sand, going to respond? There's lots of hope. There's small glimmers of it, and alternatives may be on the horizon. But for now, let's call it what it is. Another dangerous dependency on an ever-depleting resource.
Everywhere, whether it was from the government officials, from the Ministry of Environment, from the research organizations, from journalists, one voice, one very clear message that came through is that the only way you can really regulate effectively sand business, the sand mining itself, is that if the local people, local communities who stay close to the river, who depend on the river, have a role in monitoring and achieving compliance, even sanctioning. If they are empowered to have that through legally enforceable provisions, then it's possible that one can achieve a sort of semblance of more regulated sand mining business.
Sustainable development is development that meets the needs of the present generation without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs.